So my name's Chad, also known as gmchad.youth on Twitter. I'm the founder of Ethereum San Diego. Super excited for tonight's event. Tonight's actually our 21st event, and we're almost 1 year old. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce Serene, who's a critical part of our team, and she's here from New York tonight. So yeah, let's give it up for Serene.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming out. We're so excited to have you, and we are so thrilled to have the Disco team here. I personally am a huge fan of Evin and have been a huge follower and huge fan of Disco for the past couple of months, so this seems like a very full circle moment for me to have them actually be a part of ETH San Diego. So if this is your first ETH SD event, thank you so much for coming by, and we are essentially we're trying to cultivate a Web3 community within San Diego, and we are so excited with each event, just seeing more and more faces and seeing the same faces come over and over again, just super exciting. Before I introduce Evin, I would like to introduce Hagar, who let us use this beautiful event, Launch Factory, and beautiful venue, Launch Factory, so I'd just like to give him a round of applause as well.
Thank you. Hi guys, just wanted to say a quick hello. You're probably wondering where you're at. This is Launch Factory. They are a startup studio here in San Diego. My company, Privatize, is part of their portfolio. I'll let Haidar kind of tell you a little bit about Privatize, but we're very glad you guys could all make it and come out, and so happy that you're here.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, so Privatize is basically focused on what we call data privacy. We play also in the identity space a bit too. But we're really, really excited here. This is one of the most innovative team in the identity space, Disco. So innovative team, innovative product. So really looking for for this and also for the follow-up too. But pleasure having you guys here.
So without further ado, I would love to introduce Evin McMullen, who is CEO and founder of Disco.xyz.
Can I use this one? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Is this working okay? This one's a little better behaved. Very cool. One question. Could I ask you, Valerie, to scoot a little bit? We love the outline of your head. See everything in a nice, friendly way here tonight. Thank you guys so much for having us. It is an absolute honor to be here with the Disco team. Can I get a show of hands from our Disco teammates, please, just so you know who everybody is. Welcome. Okay, wonderful. So we are really excited to share with you today a little bit about the world beyond the chain. My name is Evin McMullen. I'm CEO and founder of Disco. You can hit me up anytime with questions at Proven Authority on Twitter. Follow us at Disco.xyz and tell us your metaverse dreams. We have a form on our website at Disco.xyz where you can drop us a line at any time. So today we are really stoked to talk to you about, as I mentioned, the world beyond the chain, or what lies beyond your wallet. So in Web3, I'm sure, actually show of hands, how many of you guys are managing your own keys? How many of you have Web3 wallets of your own? Whew, seems like a vast majority of you all. This is a very special group that you guys have curated. Kudos, an incredible community. So just as a refresher, our beloved wallets, I'm sure many of you are familiar with wallets like MetaMask, are optimized for assets that are public, immutable, transferable, and globally accessible and composable. And so what this means is that everyone on Earth and in space with an internet connection is going to be able to see that you own this stuff in your wallet, and that information is going to be available, generations from now, eons from now. And so your wallet is a really great place to store assets where you're cool with all of these different people, knowing that you have them and building experiences based upon the fact that you have them. But of course, we think that your money is the least interesting thing about you as a person. There's all sorts of other data that describes you as a human being. The fact that you're part of this community, where you live here in San Diego, your favorite color, the chain that you use most, where you grew up. And none of this information is going to necessarily be appropriate to publish on chain for all time, for eternity. So we often are asked in the Web3 ecosystem, what communities are you part of, what makes you you, and that on-chain information is not sufficient to express all of the uniqueness and capability and special magic that makes you as a person. So to call him out a little bit here, Fred Urson from Paradigm once said that the digital fragments of people scattered across multiple platforms will be united in one place that users control. But we want to challenge that assumption a little bit. You are not a bunch of broken fragments scattered across applications like Instagram and LinkedIn and Google and YouTube. You are a shining disco ball of a human being. At Disco, we believe that you, just as you are the multifaceted center of the party. And you should be able to reflect your identity to the world however you decide. So what we mean by multifaceted is that we go by a lot of names in the world. We have our Ethereum address, our email address, our government name, nicknames that our parents call us when we're in trouble, maybe an email address or website, but we are the same human being, regardless of which of these names we're using, which space we're showing up in. And so that's how we invite you to think about your digital identity in the future of the metaverse. And we also believe that the metaverse should be an experience where you can show up in any digital or physical environment and receive a personalized experience based on the parts of yourself that you choose to share. As much as Mark Zuckerberg thinks that the metaverse is hanging out inside of his website with an iPad strapped to your face. But if we think very literally about disco balls, right, they are the center of the dance floor and allow us to, and reflect light, reflect information, if you will, out to the excited partygoers that surround them. So from a technical perspective, how do we make this possible at Disco? Thinking about what these experiences can look like for all of us in this room. So to keep picking on Fred here, his solution is that we can logically centralize all of your data around a crypto wallet. But as we just discussed, you are not the contents of your wallet, to borrow a line from Tyler Durden in Fight Club, right? You are so much more than that as a human being, which means that you need data that describes you. You need an identity that you're able to control that can express more than financial information. Our identities are not fixed and public and permanent, right? A core facet of individualism is our ability to change and evolve, to take on new traits and get rid of those that no longer serve us. I'm sure that if we all looked at our 2008 MySpace profiles, they might not accurately represent who we are today. And so, similarly, we don't want to be trapped to or sort of held to expressions of self that no longer are accurate to our current experience. And so from a very technical perspective, the way that we break this down at Disco is that we make it easy for you to own and control private data written about you by other parties. That data can be revoked, it can expire, you can take on more data as you add new traits and capabilities and privileges, and you can get rid of that which no longer serves you. And so how we anchor this experience, how we make this possible, is using the public and private key pairs that you already have in your wallets. So right now, the many of you who are managing your own keys use those keys to push transactions on chain, to take custody of, to send, to mint, to interact with smart contracts and manage those public financial assets that we've talked about. But with a little bit of additional code, something that's called a decentralized identifier method, something that's illustrated here on the screen, we can take your existing public key and we can retrofit it. Give it a little backpack, if you will, so that instead of just a wallet carrying financial assets, it can be a backpack that carries your private assets from physical space to Web2 applications to Web3 applications across chains and back. So you can use the same keys that you use to manage your data on chain to own and control a variety of different pieces of information about yourself. So those things that we talked about earlier, your community memberships, your favorite colors, your KYC credential, your proof of residency, your proof of purchase for that fabulous Gucci bag. All of these things can be owned and controlled by you, and you can decide to expose them in whatever environment you so choose. So one of the magical things about a decentralized identifier is it's basically like a personal link tree. So you can take your existing public key from Ethereum and you can associate it with basically a series of directions for how to interact with you. service endpoints for how to send you messages, other kinds of public identifiers, even across chains where you can be found. And so you can decide to own and control and manage all of these different facets of yourself in a manner that doesn't require you to ask permission from anybody else to do so. So the messages that we can own and control written about ourselves, what the sort of the form of the data we put in our data backpacks are called verifiable credentials. So a verifiable credential is kind of like an off-chain NFT. NFTs are on-chain, public, immutable, and transferable. And verifiable credentials are off-chain, private by default. They're just signed statements, attestations written by one party about another in the form of a file, a JSON blob, kind of like a PDF. So you can store them just about wherever you want. Unlike the immutability of public on-chain assets, verifiable credentials can be revoked, they can be set to expire, so they're much more flexible for the kind of data that describes us as people than something on-chain that's otherwise going to be persistent and not appropriate for those kinds of traits. Additionally, verifiable credentials, because they're off-chain, basically have no marginal cost to create. You could write about 1 billion verifiable credentials for the cost of sending an NFT from one wallet to another on the Ethereum mainnet, but these credentials can be used on-chain. They can be used to gate access to smart contracts. So let's say we had an NFT mint where only members of ETH SD were going to be allowed to mint that NFT. Or we had a DeFi pool where you could only deposit if you were an active member of this community. You'd be able to present your credential affirming your participation in the squad and then be able to interact with that logic on-chain that no one else would be able to have access to. You could use that very same credential to gain access to gated chat channels like Telegram or Discord. You could also use that very same simple file to gain access to gated video content, tickets, e-commerce discounts, basically anything that you can imagine, even this very physical space here. You could use it similar to a ticket to gain access to a physical space. So verifiable credentials, one simple file, you can access gated experiences in 3 planes, Web 2, Web 3, and in real life. And additionally, these simple little files have a very flexible signature scheme, and so they can be written and read by more than 100 different kinds of keys. So my Bitcoin address can be in a group chat with your email address and your Ethereum address, and everyone can be on the same page at the speed of an API without the need to pay for gas fees or worry about complex stuff like bridging. So as God and Madonna intended, we want you all to express yourselves, and that means we need expressive, flexible data like verifiable credentials. So how we are making this accessible to you all in an application form that's going to be much friendlier than these data schemas here is allowing you to take custody of some rectangular JPEGs using the keys that you already own to indicate different pieces of information about yourself, such as your membership in a community. So what this looks like right now is a triumvirate of the Disco web app, API, and SDK. So our web app is, we'll give you guys access to this in a few minutes, but essentially it allows you to bring your own Ethereum keys to the web app, to connect them to our application on the front end, and then on the back end we create a decentralized identifier for you by retrofitting your existing public key. And then you get access to a simple profile that you can use verifiable credentials to link together with your Twitter handle, your Discord handle, your DNS record if you've got a website, so that you can own and control the linkages between your data backpack and those other identifiers. And this is going to be different than other kinds of social linkages that you might be familiar with, such as ENS, which is a one-way text record. So it's public, it's on-chain, it's immutable, and I can fill out that my Twitter handle is @ParisHilton and no one can stop me on ENS, but on Disco, it's more of a handshake between your data backpack and your Twitter handle, so both sides need to consent to that linkage. We can run through a few quick product shots here. You guys will see this IRL in a minute. But your Disco profile is essentially full of portable signed data about you. So you fill this out once, and then we are assembling an army of applications where you can bring your Disco profile with you and auto-populate the information about you required for onboarding, so we can get you out of the app and into the adventure that much faster as you sign up for and explore different applications throughout Web 2 and Web 3. So Eric, if you want to breeze through a few of these are going to be some friendly screens that allow you to see, here we go. So this is an example of, I think this is LDF's inbox right now. So the very first credential that we make it easy for you all to send and receive is a GM credential. Just a quick greeting, say hello to some friends out there in the metaverse. We think of this similar to like a Facebook style poke. So it's pretty low consequence, pretty low key, but just helps us all become familiar with this UX and taking custody of credentials. But if we break these credentials out, we can see that we've abstracted away a lot of the more complex underlying cryptography and information. But if you are so inclined, you can drill all the way down into the schema and see the JWT token and the attestation that's contained within it. So it's a little bit of a simple example, but makes it really friendly and fun to use public key cryptography. So next up, I am going to, actually, yes, I'm Evin. Just a quick reminder, if you guys have any questions, you're excited, drop me a line anytime. But I'm very excited to hand it over to my teammate Eric, who is going to give you all the good alpha for how to get on board with your Disco data backpack. So first, I'm going to invite everybody to pinky promise that you're not going to take pictures of this and send this out of this room. We are really excited to invite you all on board and to, whatever. Okay.
My bad.
If they're watching the live stream, they're one of us.
Okay.
But to the extent that you can not distribute this too aggressively, that would be great. We want to make sure that we're mindful about onboarding people in this community and making data backpacks available to you all, but are not quite ready to welcome the entire world just yet. So, Eric, do you want to say a few words as our solutions engineer about solutioning this whole squad up with data backpacks?
All right, cool. Super excited to get you guys on board. So you see this password up here. And it's a little hard to see, so I can zoom in. But ideally, if you have a laptop, that is the preferred way to interact with our application. Otherwise, mobile is fine. I would say desktop is definitely preferred. If you go to app.disco.xyz and then enter this following password, and I can read it out loud because I know it's hard to see. Do you want me to kill the lights? Sure. Yeah.
We're gonna kill the lights, and then who has
Data privacy,
their
bro.
computers with them? Show hands. Okay, you guys might want to take those out so you guys can follow along.
Yeah, this experience is definitely optimized for desktop right now. We are in the process of putting things together on mobile. If you have specific questions, our teammates are here to hang and help out. We're going to take about 15 minutes to see who we can get on board, at least while we're here together, before I hand it over to Eric to discuss our API capabilities and partnership capabilities in a little greater detail.
All right, so I'm gonna bring up the password screen again.
Cool. So this is our password screen. You're just gonna go to app.disco.xyz, enter in this private beta password that will allow you to get access to the web app. If you get frustrated or stuck, please raise your hand, and a friendly Disconaut will be over to help you out in a minute.
Is that a 0?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
That is a 0.
Capital D,
Disco
$1,
not.
$sign, C,
Not.
0.
Oh, Disco not.
Lowercase
Either way.
n,
Like an astronaut with
But-
disco?
asterisk, lowercase u, capital T.
What's that? Yes.
Because I can zoom this back.
Repeat password one more time, slower.
Yes.
Capital D, $1, lowercase c, 0, n, at, lowercase u, capital T. Bingo.
So then we're in the connect wallet phase for that?
Yes, so you'll hit connect wallet. On mobile, we prefer Chrome or the MetaMask. The MetaMask app should pop out.
And if you guys run into any friction, that's totally okay. We want to hear about it. We want to make sure we document it so that we can fix it for you. We're aware of a few little hiccups in the mobile experience, so definitely please raise those to us as you're giving this a shot if you run into them at all.
And then I just go
Oh boy.
Do we have to create a ceramic account?
Yes, you'll create a new
Actually, Eric, do you want to go through this flow on screen?
Yes, I'll do that. I was gonna pull up the docs. I have my other accounts linked, so I need to disconnect all of them.
Evan, quick question.
Yes.
Can you connect multiple wallets to your backpack? So for example, like, I obviously don't have my ledger with me, but like, if you wanted to do that one versus the one you have on your phone, which is not as big.
That is a great question. Can you connect multiple Ethereum addresses to your data backpack? So soon we will be able to. Right now, we are kind of set up for one ETH address, one set of keys in. But soon we will be able to use verifiable credentials to put together multiple Ethereum addresses so that you'll be able to present any one of them and then take advantage of the metadata you've built around the others without exposing them. We just haven't gotten there yet. Okay, cool.
So if you guys see this screen I have up here, for the first time when you do sign up for the app, it's going to ask and prompt you to use Ceramic, and then you're going to hit create new account at the bottom here. That's going to take you to MetaMask. If you're in mobile, it should pop up as well. And then you're going to sign, and it's going to be another one.
Is there any way to use a different wallet?
Okay, if you get stuck, please raise your hand, and one of the Disco team members is going to come see what's going on. Disco team members, this is your cue.
Yeah. I do, but what is there a way to use a different? It's like 4 quarters.
Then you'll see this screen. Once it's connected to wallet, it's created your DID, then you can go ahead and link either a Twitter or Discord account and prove that you own it. So I'm gonna link my Twitter.
If you're on mobile, Discord, and you have the Discord app, it tends to work a little bit better.
I'm gonna sign.
It's capital P1 at dollar sign, sorry, lowercase c 0 n at U capital T.
Thank you so much.
Got it. I've done this a lot.
Are you guys wanna get someone?
Are you going?
So you're saying in the future we're able to revoke this line or anything like?
No, it's gonna be. Thank you for staying here.
Create new.
Yeah, it's hard.
Anyone else need some help? What's your Twitter?
If you need help, just raise your hand.
We're just stuck with
My Twitter handle is @PrisonBoard. I make pixelated work.
No, it was, I was trying on Chrome, but now I'm trying to break. It worked for me.
Got people from audience here,
Quite a squad.
yeah, we got a good squad.
Yes, it's a good squad.
There's people like here that work for
Quick reminder, the Wi-Fi password is capital L factory 1 exclamation point. And the backroom code is 4350 pound.
Pleasantly surprised. This is my first time seeing Diego.
All right, we're gonna give you guys a few more minutes to provide rigorous feedback on all things that are broken and play around with your
just raise your hand if you need
data
help.
backpack onboarding. If you guys would like a big did energy hat that matches mine, please send 3 GMs to other folks who are here, other users that you find deep in the internet. And if you come visit LDF, you want to give a wave, come visit LDF, show her the 3 credentials that you have sent, and you too can have one of these hats.
I'm 2 credentials deep, can I get one?
2 credentials deep? Not enough. Not enough, Andres.
I'll send you another.
My Twitter handle is LDF_GM. Send me all the GMs. I'm
Yes.
so serious. This is my pause.
Wait, I cannot hear you, but you should ask that question to a different member of the Disco team who's closer to you. Disco Nuts, someone help this dude.
Where's the question?
Have you signed any messages?
Yeah, I signed it.
Okay, so then I would just let it. I will not mess until you get it. Just let it keep going.
Oh, shit, okay.
I don't know why it's not open, but I feel like we just get
Probably just because a lot of people are on.
probably ceramic is I know, right?
What would you consider?
It's like, we need to replace it.
What chain do you guys
Chain.
Huh?
There is no chain. Right now we support Ethereum but we think of crypto as cryptography. So we do no on-chain anything except for users.
You guys gotta hit up.
off-chain.
That's it.
Basically, you don't waste on Ethereum one.
After this is a brand new layer on blockchain, we just raise it for my company's hiring. Yeah. Our team's hiring. So they're working on their new wallet right now. Yeah, so like 2 people from Meta.
Oh, nice.
EM project.
Yeah.
So like
Oh, did you? When it was called Facebook.
Wild. What do you do with that?
I haven't had a partner that's actually.
That's it. Partnerships is sweet.
Best thing ever. Like, yeah. The product is working a little bit better on mobile.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it alone.
Yeah.
No, I need to do it right now.
You're like, I'm determined.
So I can go back to my
I know, I should have said that.
Okay, cool. So I'm hoping that everyone is either making progress or communicating their frictions to the Disco team. Just so we don't keep you guys trapped in the dark all night, as much fun as this is. Eric is going to walk us through the latest and greatest with our API and other capabilities that we've got for developers. So Eric, I'm going to hand you all this fun stuff. And I think we can get the lights back on in a minute.
Hey. Everyone's having so much fun.
I know, everyone's having so much fun. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Turn it off and turn it back on.
Unplug it, plug it back in.
Hey,
I'm telling you.
I don't have credit, so I think I'm a signal. Building a partnership. Yeah, you're gonna say.
Yeah. It's a beta app. So.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's fine.
We're early. We're so early.
Yeah, we've got some other.
Only quick question. Are we doing more presentation or are you just going to free for all and like?
We're gonna do one more presentation, and then after that we're gonna turn the music on and do after event.
Yeah, and then. See
all right.
Awesome community and attendance.
So
Eric is about to kick things off.
We can always troubleshoot after. Our Disconauts are always available to help. My name is Eric. I'm a solutions engineer at Disco. I help build demos. I write the docs.
Let's go documentation.
Yeah. I went to UCSD actually, so shout out anyone there. So Evan talked a little bit about what Disco is and a little bit of the high level. I'm gonna dive into the nitty gritty a little bit for the developers, for the builders interested in building with Disco. Better pay attention. Before we hand out API keys nilly-willy, I just wanted to set a few expectations, give you a little bit more context for those who are more technical. So make sure you put on your brainstorming hats. We're going to get into it a little bit. Today we'll go over more on DIDs and VCs. We'll talk about the primitives. These are the underlying primitives that power Disco. We'll get into the architecture. We'll talk about a high-level overview about how Disco works. I'll give you an introduction into the API and the endpoints that currently exist. We'll do a demo, and then we'll brainstorm use cases, and then get into a Q&A. So Evan talked a little bit about decentralized identifiers. These are like aliases, like name tags for our existing addresses. This can be an Ethereum address, Bitcoin address, etc. that you own. That makes it really easy for you to take ownership and control over your identity. This is self-generated and owned by you. So currently we take your Ethereum address and we will generate a DID for you. It's globally universal, so you can take it to other places on the internet because it's you and you own it. And it also resolves to a DID document. So a DID document is a big JSON blob of data that is descriptive about the DID subject. So that could be you, it could be a person, it could be an entity, it could be an object. This is really cool and gets really exciting when you talk about verifiable credentials, when you pair this with verifiable credentials, which are signed attestations or statements written by one party about another in the form of JSON. So this is signed by private public keys, so it can't be tampered with, it can't be messed around with once it's signed. It has three components. There's a proof, there's metadata, and there's a claim. Claim, I went to Harvard. Proof, the signature. Metadata is all the data underneath it. So examples of this could be education credentials, could be government IDs, could be a library card, or any other important document that you might see or use in your day-to-day life. This could also be in the form of a credential. Cool, so how does this work? This is a very, very high level of Disco's architecture, keeping things super, super high level, but you're gonna connect your wallet to the Disco web app, and then you have your web app, which is going to write to a Ceramic stream. Ceramic is a decentralized storage network built on top of IPFS. This is where your DIDs and VCs will all live. That web app will talk to our API, which is backed by a Postgres database, which is going to help with indexing and fetching your profile data. If you're a third party or you're a verifier and you want to partner and build with Disco data, all you have to do is call out to our REST API using HTTP in the language or framework of your choice. And I meant to ask this earlier, but can I get a raise of hands if you are a developer, if you are interested in building with Disco? Okay, solid amount, okay. So what are the current capabilities? With the web app, some of you guys might have gotten there. You can create a, a decentralized identifier, an account, using an ETH address, connect your wallet. You can issue credentials to DIDs. You can link a Twitter, Discord, or domain to your account. And you'll be able to hold and view your credential and make it public or private. That's the capabilities of the web app or your data backpack. For the API, you can view all public credentials given someone's DID. You can fetch profile by Ethereum address, Discord, domain, or DID. You can search for a user based on a linked social media account. And soon, you can verify a credential. All right, so it's time to meet Disco's API. The first endpoint we're going to talk about is get by. Sorry, we dim the lights. Yeah. Thank you. So there's two endpoints I'm going to talk about today. The first one is going to get the profile by your Ethereum address. So given an Ethereum address, return all of the Disco profile the user has inputted. So we can see, hopefully, once we dim the lights a bit, but this is the JSON response that we'd expect. Cool. So yeah, I have profile, which includes my name, my bio, my profile pic, things like that. And then you have a Twitter linkage and a Discord linkage, which is also in the form of a self-attested verifiable credential. Yeah. Then we also have an endpoint to return all of a user's credentials. So if you know the user's DID, you can now query for all of their credentials in JSON. So this is an example of one credential, which is the official Disco Not credential that you'll receive when you complete onboarding. So there's fields like, I don't know if you can see here, but type on top.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can't really zoom in.
I was trying to zoom in.
It's all good. You'll see the signature, you'll see its contents all below. So imagine if you're a developer and you want to interact with this, you can check if this credential exists, then you can do custom app logic. All right, let's get into a demo. So I built this simple React app along with my colleague Dalton there. So it's a React app, and I'm going to connect my wallet. Can you refresh? Are the demo gods not here today? There we go.
It connected.
So basically, all it does is connect my wallet, and it pulls the Disco profile data out. So you have my name, you have my bio, and my connected accounts. I have it tells me that I have 2 credentials found. And if a official Disco Not credential is detected, it's going to display confetti. Yay! So you can imagine all the use cases that you can build with this. You can gate access to an app. You can unlock custom app logic by hitting our API. You can unlock boards. Some of our partners are talking about our DAOs who want to issue membership credentials and unlock access to their members. You can auto-populate profile details, so you can take this to an app and no more form fill. Just pull out the Disco profile data. And another interesting use case that I've been thinking about is accessibility. If I have a credential that maybe I'm colorblind or I prefer dark mode, then it'll render dark mode right away once it hits the API and checks that I have this credential. So I'd love to chat if you're interested in building with the API. And if you have a use case, we can come chat and I can get you a key. We can make something happen. You.
Yeah.
Hey. All right. So these are the integration steps and docs, API docs here. They'll be updated, but there's a hyperlink here. I can send out the slides after this. And yeah, wanted to open it up for any questions.
I had a question.
Yeah.
When you mentioned like accessibility credentials, do you see like a world where you can replace like your Google profile that has like all these cookies stored and all this like metadata that allows you to browse Disco credentials?
Totally. The opportunities are endless, right? You can say like, yeah, I want a certain font size, or yeah, like Apple has all these preferences too for different accessibility settings and screen size, width, refresh rate. So totally, definitely. Yeah, back there.
What's the difference between like an ETH address and like a DID string?
Okay.
Like, is there a one-to-one mapping between the two, or?
Sure. Thank you. This one. Great question. So Ethereum addresses, as we know, are public keys that we get from the Ethereum ecosystem. But decentralized identifiers are a set of methods that we can use to retrofit existing public identifiers so that they can sign, issue, request, disclose, and revoke off-chain data. So some Ethereum addresses are also DIDs, but not all DIDs are Ethereum addresses, and not all Ethereum addresses are DIDs. I don't know if that, if that helped to clarify. There are a number of different ways that you can take an existing Ethereum address and make it into or retrofit it with a decentralized identifier method. Some include EtherDID, 3ID, I don't know, there's a whole bunch. There's like 100 different kinds of DID methods. You can have multiple Ethereum addresses pointing to the same DID. You can have multiple DIDs attached to similar or the same Ethereum addresses using the DID doc. So you can essentially have a many-to-many mapping for these identifiers. There's no rules police when it comes to using decentralized identifiers in combination with blockchain keys.
Yes. If you lose your private keys, how can you recover your DIDs and VCs and make sure that they're not compromised?
Great question. So unlike PGP keys, pretty good privacy, which sort of became popular in the 1970s, or the blockchain keys that we use in other contexts like Bitcoin and Ethereum keys, you can rotate your keys for your decentralized identifier. Now, the specifics of how are detailed on the wonderful website of the World Wide Web Consortium and are well above my pay grade. But actually, if you ask our teammates Johnny and Aldi, they can give you a much more satisfying answer for how key rotation happens than I can. But it's possible. You can do it.
Any other questions?
Any other questions, or you guys just want pizza?
One more.
One more in the back.
So if you generate like a DID from some address, and then there's like some attestations attached to that DID, what's used to generate? Is the Ethereum, like the private key from your Ethereum account used? Like what's
You
used
mean to
sign?
generate the attestations?
Yeah, like what's used to sign things?
Great question. So these are two separate questions. The first question is, when I write a credential about your DID, who is the subject of that credential? So you could think of it almost like a diploma. The subject is going to be your address, your decentralized identifier. Now, like many different data schemas that you can create in custom ways, you can add as many fields as you want to. So let's say we created a membership credential for ETH SD, and those fields could include your decentralized identifier, your favorite Ethereum address, your second favorite Ethereum address, your Twitter handle, your Discord handle, etc. So you could have as many identifying or relating fields as you want. Now, when it comes to the keys that sign or issue a credential to another party, those are going to be the DID keys. So the keys that are derived from your decentralized identifier. One of the nice things about EIP 712, for those who are like big Ethereum improvement proposal enthusiasts, EIP 712 last fall allowed us, it basically governs sign type data, allows us to extend the capabilities of our existing MetaMask keys. So we're able to sign structured data of many kinds, not just on-chain transactions. And so that allows us to use the keys that we already have in our MetaMask wallet to be able to sign verifiable credentials. But as I mentioned earlier, signature scheme is super flexible. And so if you've got keys that come from your PGP key that are related to your Solana address, your Bitcoin address, your Ethereum address, if you are signing a verifiable credential with a DID made out of one of those identifiers, the signature vibe is going to go pretty much the same for all of them, and it's going to be commonly legible with all those others. All right, and with that, I think I'm going to hand it back to, or actually, should we take one more?
Yeah.
You guys bored yet?
If you don't do it, let's do it.
Okay, Serene, anything for you.
How do you see DIDs changing the structure of DAOs, if at all?
Great question. So right now, DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, are largely centralized group chats with decentralized bank accounts. So the most interesting coordination game you can play together is pooling capital and spending it. So treasury allocation, and I think that's kind of boring. As far as human coordination goes, there are so many other things that we can coordinate around than just pooling capital and spending it. right? We can have meetups, we can write newsletters, we can host podcasts, we can develop products, we can throw parties. And that means that we need more information about one another if we want to be able to pursue those activities in a trust minimized way. So I think moving DAOs away from just being group chats with bank accounts into literally anything else is going to require an account abstraction layer that's uniquely well suited to technologies like DIDs and VCs. And also the switching costs for moving from one DAO to another are pretty high right now. So if I want to go join a new DAO, I basically have to farm my reputation like it's the first day on the internet, my first day of school in the Discord. And I'm going to have to do a bunch of really helpful low-level tasks to demonstrate that I'm accountable and get people to vouch for me so I can, get a bigger role or whatever. But that's really laborious. And if I am trying to, work in DAOs as a way of life, that's not necessarily going to make sense based on, just the complexity and effort required for me to switch to a new squad. But if I was able to show up at a new DAO day 0 and prove that I've been an active member of the ETH SD squad, and I've organized events, and I've brought in speakers, and I've answered questions helpfully, and I brought in the pizza, or whatever traits or proofs of non-financial work demonstrate my accountability, then maybe I can lower the switching costs when I go to join a new DAO, and they can see that I'm already accountable and trustworthy and have put forth valuable effort in other contexts that might be relevant. So almost like a DAO-like resume type vibe. So I think there are a lot of ways that DAOs could benefit from more data than just what's publicly available and financial. All right, last call for questions. Yes?
You said that as time goes by, you may want to delete or drop, let's say, some credentials. And do they really get deleted, or are they archived?
So this gets into a question of data mutability. We have a lot of different words that we can use to describe data that is no longer valid and or mapped to us. So sort of first order of validity for a credential is, has it been revoked? So has the issuer explicitly revoked that credential? So that's one sort of facet of a credential that you can interrogate, whether or not the issuer has revoked it. So let's say I have a driver's license from one state, I get a driver's license from another state. That first state is likely to revoke my license, right? No longer be backing it or representing me as a valid driver in that state. So that's kind of the revoked status. Next up is expiry. You can set a date of expiration on your credential. Like there's a date of expiration on food or certain memberships. And so if you're validating a credential, you can check to see whether the piece of information that you've been presented, the credential you're interrogating, has gone past its date of expiry, whether it's expired. Then we have the individual user and sort of their locus of control around a credential. And if someone sends a credential to you, you can decide whether or not you want to take custody of it. Just like someone sending you an email or sending a piece of physical mail to your house, you can decide whether you want to take custody of that, add it into your data backpack and carry it around with you, or whether you just kind of want to get rid of it and not accept it when it first arrives. So that basically never publicly creates the opportunity to map that piece of data to you in a manner subject to your control. And then, I think this is sort of closer to what you were talking about, we have an instance where I've taken custody of a credential, put it in my data backpack, decided to expose it publicly to the world, but I no longer want to use it. It no longer serves me, no longer describes me. So what I can do is I can make that credential private first, so I can decide that I no longer want it to be publicly associated with me. And then depending on where I'm storing that credential, I can just delete it. It's like a file, like a PDF. So let's say I've been storing my credentials in a hardware enclave on my mobile device. It's going to be pretty easy for me to be able to control those files as I would normally other files that I've got on my device. If I'm storing that credential on a network like IPFS, a decentralized storage network that relies on public availability, I may not be able to enjoy proof of deletion in that it's not going to evaporate into the abyss. There's going to be a record of its existence, but that mapping is no longer going to be active. And so this is a really interesting area that we're starting to play in is, what does it mean for data to be truly mutable, mutable as opposed to immutable, and how can we make sure that the continuous evolution of our human experience is always going to be accurately portrayed by the data that surrounds us. So I think the most valuable thing there for us to remember is that public blockchains are write once, never erase. And so if we want data that describes us to be able to change and evolve, we don't want to be storing it on a public ledger. Thank you so much. And you and I should chat afterwards, but I don't want to keep everyone else here hostage because we've got all this great pizza. So, Chad, can hand it back to you.
Get up, Brad.
So yeah, I mean, we're gonna keep the space open for another hour. We got sounds by Virtual.
The man.
We got a ton of pizza, and then we got a lot more drinks in the fridge. So if you guys are thirsty,
Woo!
go ahead and enjoy yourself. We're here for another hour. Then mingle with the disco team. Another round of applause for Evin.
Yeah.